Hi, this is Hansen from Washburn University, coming to you from my office to give you some performance tips on the KMEA Rotation to Percussion Audition excerpts. Couple tips for the marimba part here. Nothing too crazy, but just to point out a few things. On the first bar, I play both of those eighth note G's on my right hand. So I play right, right. So I can start that with the left because coming out of that, it gets me to that A flat better. So I do two rights and then I do beat two on my left hand. I also don't start super forte because it's mezzo forte and we have a forte in the middle. So start kind of relaxed, enough volume to make a presence, but not too loud. Make sure you do that decrescendo. I decrescendo all the way down to piano just to make it a little bit more expressive. Pop out those accents in the third bar. Again, on the second line, so the fourth bar, I start this lick with my left hand because it comes out a little bit easier. On the forte and the fifth bar, just make sure that you play these double stops actually together. They shouldn't be flams. We need to make sure that they are heard together, and then you should voice them so the top note, so your right hand, is slightly louder than your left. So you could just have a sticking that's kind of like this, but not that flams. They need to hit at the same time. I stretch that retardato out a little bit, but not too much. Once again, the double stop at the end, I make sure to hit those together. The a tempo, I start with my left hand. I'll throw a picture up here with all of my stickings. Then shoot that off to the end, hit a big E flat there at the end. Make sure you make a statement at the end. My main comments for the xylophone excerpt, the Gershwin American in Paris, is make sure that you do play the accent on the first D and there's no accent on the low D. A lot of times it goes bigga digga boom, bigga digga boom, bugga digga dum, bugga digga dum, bugga digga dum. So the accent's on the top. Also, don't lose the E flat after you do that. Don't play the E flat too soft. You don't want to overdo that. I'm using a fairly hard xylophone mallet. Nothing crazy, but fairly articulate and bitey, right? It's vigorous. It's if you think a lot of things going on. There's taxi horns. There's all sorts of stuff going on in this thing. So you're really cutting through. The other thing is just make sure that you're able to play 1 E and 2 2 T 4 5 bomb. But playing that in time. It's not a 16th triplet, so you just want to put some time in making sure you play that rhythm. Just play it on a single note, right? And make sure that you're right with the metronome on that. A little bit of crescendo at the end there, right? We're pushing off to the end, and then you just transpose it up a half step, and you do that all on the white keys, right? So we have the black keys that we jump down to the F, then we have the white keys that we jump up to the F sharp on that last thing. So not too hard. Make sure your time's good. Make sure that your accents are in the right place. On the first part of Scheherazade, make sure that your roughs actually have 2 hits and are not a bounce or have more. Just wanted to go dig-a-dut, but you need to make sure that those are fairly tight so that we can keep the rhythm. So a good thing to do is to practice the rhythm without the roughs. 1, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 3, 1, and make sure that that rough that goes before the 16th notes there doesn't make your downbeat come a little bit late. The other thing is I do on these 16th notes, I'll put the magic music up here, I do right, left, right, left, right, right at the end, because if I do 2 rights, it allows my left to play the rough, so I don't want to have to go left rough. So if I single those out, then I have to go too quick to my left. So I do 2 rights at the end, right, right, right into and right, right, blah. So then it sets it up for my left hand to be successful with that. The other thing is for both of these segments, we'll talk about it with this one, we need to make sure that we accent the downbeats. Bop, bop, bugga dugga dugga bop, bop, bugga dugga dugga bop, bop, bugga dugga dugga da. So just a little bit of a press. It's not actually an accent, it's just a little bit of a press. So we feel 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1. Same thing goes for the second half of this. Make sure you have nice buzz rolls. I'm actually just playing 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just playing 16th notes, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. But I also play 1, 2, and 3, and right, left, left, right, 2, and 3, and right, left, and I'm feeling right, right, da, da, right, da, da, da. So then I can make sure that my right hand is accenting as we go throughout there. On the snare drum excerpt, first bar, keep it forte, but make sure that the drags are not accented, right? We don't want da, 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 da. We want da, ra, ra, da, da, da. Okay, so don't accent the and of 1 and beat 2. We want to make sure that we hear the accents there. Make sure in the second bar that it's noticeable that we come down to mezzo forte. So I make sure that beat 4 on the triplet, that I play it fairly strong on that first bar. And so then I have room to come down, because a forte without accents on that triplet should be slightly louder than the accented mezzo forte. So even though it's an accent, it should be softer. So there's a big dynamic difference there, okay? I do 16th triplets for my roll bass. So on these half note rolls, I play ducka-da, 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 ducka-da. So if I took the roll out, and I just buzz those. Okay, it's a little slow to do 16ths for me, and I feel it's a little fast to do 32nd notes, so I do 16th triplet rolls there. In the next bar, so that one, bar 2 is tied to bar 3, so we need to make sure that that goes all the way through, right? But then the next one is not tied, and we have to put a drag, so there has to be a space in order to hear that drag. So my underlying hands on the third bar are, I just stop on the and of 4, but I stop with a buzz. I don't go, I go. Okay, so you can hear that the roll keeps going, but it gives me time to get forward to do that next rough. So I put a little breath mark at the end of that first line, so there is space for the drum to stop ringing and they can hear duck-a-da-da. You got to imagine the room's going to ring a little bit, so it gives you some room to stop early. To get to that, just make sure you play the dynamics on the second line. Lots of dynamic stuff, placing that and the E in the correct place. The hardest bar of this whole thing is the last bar of the second line. We have these last 2 beats, which we have triplets with 16ths and an and in it, and that can't sound like 16ths or like 30 seconds. It actually needs to sound like 16th triplets. So to get that bar, so this is beat 4 of the very last bar of the second line. We have, so to get that going, I'm going to start going 4 polette, and then I'm going to play 4 polette 1, because the 1 is not accented, it's still forte. 4 polette 1, 4 polette 1. And then I need to put a diddle on each of those first ones. 4 polette 1. So you have but the triple, right? right? So it has this kind of like lean back. That's the thing that I spent the most time on, trying to get that feeling right, just putting a metronome on and going, but da da 4 let 1. Da 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 da, right? So getting that to not feel like 16th notes. Practice that with a metronome. Last line, there is not an accent on beat 1 after that lick I just said. It makes you want to play this accented lick, but make sure that beat 1 of the last line does not have an accent, but you're still forte, staying forte. Hit those 2 accents on the and then the E. That sticking is helpful as long as when you go to piano, you start that with the left hand. So I'm using 4E and the paradiddle to give myself enough time to get the left hand up to the front. All right, so give yourself time to get up there. I'll put my sticking up for the last 2 bars because I do something interesting here. Stickings are individual. If you don't like this, you don't have to do this, but this is what I do. Okay, so I play all the flams, actually all of the accents with my right hand. Play those first 2 16ths with my left. And then I'm doing the crescendoed E with my left, and then a little accent on the right. I don't do that to look cool. I do that because I want there to be a consistent build-up with my left hand, and then I can put a little extra accent with my right. So I'm going to build that up that way. So that's the sticking that I use on that last bar. You might find your own, but that's what works for me. Okay, little tambourine lesson for you on the Dvorak here. Some of you have probably never played a tambourine excerpt. I'm just going to give you a quick tambourine lesson and then talk about what I specifically do on this. So first of all, there's a part of the tambourine that doesn't have jingles. Sometimes it has a hole. This hole is actually for a cymbal stand. It's not for your finger. You're just going to put the tambourine in there, hold it like a clamp, and then I put my thumb on top so it doesn't ring too long. It's like a mute on a snare drum. We get that kind of hum out. So I put my thumb on top. If your fingers are long enough, I actually put my fingers on the bottom too, but a lot of your fingers won't be long enough to do that. So just kind of do this at the bottom, okay? Hold it like a mirror, so it's right at your face here. You make a chicken beak. Your thumb is at 6 o'clock. You're striking at 12 o'clock, just under the wood. Okay? And so for this first part, where we're doing the singles, let's talk about that. The half note has a in the orchestra. It has an accent on it, so I put an extra hit on that. Just a little bit extra, right? Just going from our wrist here. So on rolls, there are multiple different rolls you can do. There's kind of the traditional this way. There's this one, which is what I actually do. I'm just kind of shaking my hand forward. It's a very quick roll, so I can get to that quicker. Every roll should have a start and an end, so that half note I hit on 1 and 3. Right? And I do that shake. If this roll feels better for you, great. If this roll feels better for you, great. If you have another way of doing it, just try to make it feel nice and consistent. We typically don't do a finger roll on that one because it needs to be a powerful roll and your finger doesn't get as much power. So typically we do not do a finger roll on there. You should do some sort of a shake roll on the top. Okay? On the second line, we have this decrescendo roll. It's kind of hard to do that this way, so we do that with a finger roll. I'm going to teach you a quick way to do a finger roll. Take your middle finger, put your thumb underneath the first line, put your pointer finger underneath the other line. We have this wiggly little bit at the front. What is happening is this bounces on the head to make the sound. If you're not getting a good sound, Two things. Make sure you either have sandpaper, if you're going to do sandpaper around the rim, some come with it. If you're going to do sandpaper, it should be 320 grit or a bigger number, because otherwise you're going to start taking skin off your hand. So 320, 400, something like that. Otherwise, you should have beeswax, so a little tube of beeswax that you can rub on here. Most professional tambourines come with that. You can also get a cube of it, usually at like a craft store. You can get some beeswax, and you just kind of rub that around where you're going to apply pressure. So we need it to be a little bit of tension to help it bounce against there. It's harder to bounce against this soft or this smooth surface. So when we have this thing going on, we're going to go from our thumb around the edge. That's our finger roll. If you like thumb rolls, great. I feel that a finger roll is more consistent for me. Some people might be more consistent on a thumb roll. You can do it that way. I'm just going to teach the finger roll. So to get that to get loud, and at the end, I'm going to really attack the front of that finger roll, and then I'm just going to go to nothing, but I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to keep my speed moving so it doesn't go woo, ruh, ruh, ruh. So I really smack that thing here. Another thing you can see, because I have to play soft here, my foot's on a drum throne. A chair is a little high for me. I actually have a little baby stool that I take with me to gigs, but this is what was at Washburn here, is just a drum throne, which gets my leg relatively flat, because when I'm playing this soft stuff, I want it actually pressed against my leg, because it's harder to play this. It also is a nice end to my roll. So I take that big front finger roll, and then I end beat 3 on my leg. And then I just use my first 2 fingers, so not my whole chicken beak, just the first 2, just the tip of the beak. And then I'm going to play those staccato 8s need to be pretty articulate, so you got to move pretty quick, right? So similar to bouncing a basketball, you don't want to use too much arm. You're just moving real quick through here. So you got to kind of work that up. They should be equal, not nice and equal. Okay, so that's how I do that last part. Finger roll to the leg, 2 fingers on the edge to play the single rhythms. And that's Dvorak's Carnival Overture. For the 4-drum version of the timpani part, I have a few things that will apply to both, but some that apply specifically to getting around these 4 drums. The first thing is we're starting piano. If you start piano, you need to be very articulate. If we just play with a normal, slower stroke, it doesn't really sing. It just sounds kind of like a roll. So to hear da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you got to play with a little sharper stroke to get that first piano to get up to the top. Right? I'm just doing singles across the drums. And then I'm also singling this second bar, just right, left. Make sure you do the accents. Don't play the forte accent so loud that the drum sounds bad. Just because it's forte doesn't mean it's hit the drum as hard as you can. There is a point where these drums sound bad. And it's forte, not fortissimo. So don't overplay these drums. Get a nice warm accent. Make sure we hear the accents out here and not in the middle on that bar, but these still stay forte, but don't overplay. On the second line, these triplets coming down, I do a specific sticking to get around the awkwardness of moving that down the drums. I play right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right. Start the roll on my left hand, okay? That allows me to get down to this low drum and play those low drum accents and be consistent with that. And then I don't have to go from this double right to start my roll. I start that roll with my left hand. On that roll, second line, second bar, it is a accented roll that decrescendos. It's not like a forte piano. So you want to hit that and have both hands be strong and then come down. Ba, not boo, right? Ba, 2, 3. And then as we get to this piano, once again, fort and needs to be a little bit more articulate. Fort and. On the third line on this mezzo piano, my sticking is 1, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left. Start the whirl with my right. Okay, so that double helps me get around those drums. I like doubles more than I like crosses. You may have a way that you like to play it better, but that's the way I do it. On the forte piano roll on the third line, I am going to strike this just one time, let the drum ring, and I come in on beat 2 to do the crescendo. Okay, so the drum is going to do some ringing. It's going to do the forte to the piano, and then you're going to do the last crescendo. So instead of rolling all the way through, I just hit it. So you get that roll that builds up into there, but it lets that forte piano part come down. I just alternate those triplets coming across. On the last line on that mezzo piano, beat 2, I start it with my left hand to get a good sticking that ends up with my right hand on the top of the drums. I alternate these 16ths as I'm coming down. On beat 2, or beat 3, the piano in the second bar of the last line, I am making sure once again that I'm nice and staccato because I just came out of all this loud stuff, so these outside drums are still going to be ringing even though I came to piano. So I want to go bugga dugga bugga da da da. I want to make sure that that 3E anda is soft but articulate so I can still hear what I'm doing. The final thing is there is a rest on beat 2 of this last bar, which tells me that I want to dampen on beat 2. So I'm actually, since I have 4 drums that I've just played and they're all ringing, I am dampening the middle 2 on the and of 1, and then my note that should ring all the way to beat 2, I'm dampening the outside 2 because the E needs to last all the way to that rest. So slowly from beat 3, that looks like this. And sometimes I think on the video you'll probably see I came back to dampen these because they were ringing a little bit more. I'll come and take those out again. But I want to take this E flat out on beat 2. So it is what the music actually says. On the 2-drum version of this timpani part, a lot of the stuff for the is the same as if you had 4 drums, but we're just going to make sure that we do a few different stickings just because we're changing what drums we're playing on. So on the 2-drum version, I'm wanting to make sure when we come in at piano that we're playing nice and articulate to make sure that that piano is coming out but is not loud. So I change my stroke from just being this to being nice and sharp as we're getting there. I'm just moving up the drums. On this second bar, I play right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right. So I do some doubles there to get that part feeling better. If you want to go back and forth between the drums, that's up to you. You can do that. That's the sticking that I do. I like to play doubles. I think I can keep them cleaner. On the second line, on these triplets, first of all, you need to practice going from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 bullet, 2 bullet, 3 bullet, 4 bullet. We need to make sure that the time changes there. But there's also accents and drum changes. I just do the same sticking right, left throughout the whole thing. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. You're accenting your right hand on the first ones, and then on beat 4, you're going to have to not accent that first right and then a left. So we have. So that left hand needs to get beat 4 there. And then we're going to hit that roll. So this is an accented roll that decrescendos. It's not a forte piano, so you're not just going to hit it and then be all the way out of the way. You actually want to make sure Your first few hits, first 2 or 3 hits are that accent, and then you're at your forte, that then you're decrescendoing down. So it's not boo, it's bow, right? We need to make sure that there is some strength at the start of that roll. As we get down to the piano, once again, I'm articulate on my forehand, and then on the mezzo piano, I'm also staying relatively articulate. I'm just kind of right hand leading that next bar. There is a forte piano on the second bar of the third line. That one I am going to strike this note and not do anything until beat 2, then I'll start rolling. So the forte part of it, the forte piano, is you're going to hit on 1 and let it come down, and then the crescendo part is beat 2. So I'm not like the other roll when I kept my hands moving. I'm actually going to stop. And you'll see in the video that I did play the E flat on here, but I have it tuned to the 4 drums right now, which is the E flat up there. So play it 2 drums next to each other. Don't stick it, there's no reason to put a drum in between it. On the last line, I'm going to start that mezzo piano on beat 2 with my left hand, so it helps me start the second bar with my right hand. I'm just going to alternate. The triplet gets us to the right hand as we're getting up there. This is the weirdest sticking I had to come up with, which is this the last bar of all these 16th notes. I play right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right. So beat 2, I'm doing the accent on the low drum, and then using that to decrescendo down, and then 3 to get me back on my right hand to get to that last part. So that's my sticking to get through there. There's many different ways that you can think about getting that, but that's my sticking that I use there. The last thing is there is a rest on beat 2 of the last bar, so you want to make sure you cut off the sound of the drums on beat 2. So you're going to have right on beat 2, right on beat 2. So you're not just doing it wherever you want. 3 endo, 4 endo, 1 and off. Put it right on beat 2 as you dampen that last note.